Hi, everybody. Here at eache post-conference with my brothers Lorcan, O.Toole, and Barry Littleton. We've talked about a lot of our experiences, the things that have happened to us individually, but what we haven't talked about, and this has been quite evident to us, is how we've been triggering each other, activating each other, spurring each other into higher thought, in turn creating this exponential explosion of consciousness expanding and so forth. So Barry, it's been a year since you've been up here. You had all kinds of things happen to you the last time you were here. You came here the first night we were out there. We had some experiences, the cloud activity, that really bizarre, anomalous stuff going on. But we started talking about different theories that you've had and you've been thinking about since you were here the last time. And we started really spurring all these conversations. Now, Lorcan, you were here for a little while. You took off. You came back. And there's something about coming onto the land and then going away from the land and coming back that really has an effect on it. Now, would you guys talk to those points? And Barry, would you start?
Yeah, I noticed this time, for example, when I returned, the paranormal events weren't as blatant as they were last time, as in they just stopped my entire world, the things that were happening to me last time. This time it's been much more subtle. And in engaging with people during the conference, and you too as well, I'm realizing a lot of that word keeps coming up. I was triggered. And that's a matter of remembering things. And I think us remembering actually who we are, and a lot of past life things are coming in, and just information that maybe, our synaptics our brains are taking in all the time. We filter a lot of that stuff out. And I think maybe we're actually accessing some of that in a way more than normal. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Nice. How about you, Lorcan?
Well, yeah, as you said, it was only about a month ago that I first set foot on the property, as far as I know, this lifetime. I may have been around here before in other experiences. And yeah, I did leave, and magical experiences were definitely happening immediately, especially on the sky watches. And I was already feeling connections to different energies and beings watching me from the woods, and Sasquatch and all sorts of stuff. But then I left, and I didn't want to leave really, and I went off to Canada, and I came back, and then everything just deepened like maybe 100 levels, and all these beings that came onto the property as well, including this fine gentleman right here, holding a hyper-resonant space. Hyper-resonant space is a extremely accelerated frequency bandwidth or state of being. And this is because us and many other beings are bringing through multidimensional energies from different galactic star systems and civilizations, just emanating it out through our heart centers, through our state of being, simply by just being here on the earth, let alone talking. And being with these groups of people that resonate with you on particular levels starts to create what are known as bubble realities. And bubble realities are little containers, or massive containers, you could say, of different bandwidths, different belief systems, different outlooks on life, on the earth, on our roots in the stars, etc. And when people get together into these particular groupings, it amplifies and magnifies, we've been saying this a lot, amplifies and magnifies the entire community or group up into higher levels of frequency and experience, where a lot of these higher beings, whether fairies, angelics, galactic beings, all sorts, are existing in right now. And when we all get together, it allows us all to see into these experiences much more so. And we can even see a reflection of this happening on the earth with the awakening movement, where many people are creating a bubble realities, which are literally splitting and moving away from each other while we're still holding our space together somehow.
So when we took a ride in the car yesterday, and we began to talk about different, well, I don't want to say theories, but different beliefs and or avenues of investigation, where we talked about the mountains around here. We talked about Mount Adams, and very much it seems as though our conversation was pushing us towards the possibility that Mount Adams is indeed a device, an energy device of some sort. We talked about that, and in a multi-dimensional aspect. I was out with my girl out watching the fireworks in the field, and I had seen this reflection in the field of dreams, and it was geometrical in nature, and it had this particular layout to it, and I was like, wow, it looks so familiar. Then I get into a conversation with Barry concerning the mountain and its function, and it dawned on me, it looks like a circuit board. And we were talking about that type of thing. Now, when we were downtown and we were having lunch, we started talking about how, and I said, let me just float this idea, because you have Mount St. Helens, you have Mount Adams, and you have Mount Hood. They call them the Three Sisters. That itself creates a triad, the Sacred Trinidad. I'm not saying it is, but what if Mount Hood, because it looks very much like an eroded pyramid to me, what if that was a device? And not only that, let's go one step farther by saying maybe all three mountains were devices. They're all volcanoes, and maybe there's something that is to that where they draw the energy from that particular set of geological circumstances. But let's just say, floating the idea that these mountains are indeed all forming some type of an energy generating and or harvesting series of devices, for lack of a better term. Now, you guys had some interesting points on that as well. Barry, do you want to share yours?
Yeah, I witnessed this time is a little different. I witnessed, actually with the group that was out here, a lot of phenomenon start to respond to people's intent. So people are wanting to see ships out there and doing intent before they go out and sky watch. A ton of ships are showing up. People are thinking about Bigfoot, and all of a sudden they're having encounters of some type or seeing something. And a lot of these experiences are somewhat non-tangible in terms of the ships and in terms of Bigfoot. It's being seen, it's fleeting. These are things that are used to actually kind of, it seems like, bewilder our consciousness to raise higher in vibration. I think that's what it is. And it feels to me that I saw something with your binoculars on the mountain that was just below what they call the dimensional door. It looks like almost a type of pyramid there. And within that ice, I could see these sparkles. You saw them too. I mean, it almost like a disco ball
Sure.
or something like that. But I mean, it honestly looks something like a processor to me. And I kept seeing it, but when I pulled your binoculars down, it wasn't even infrared. I couldn't see it with my naked eye. I put it back up, and there it is. I mean, it's really amazing. But I'm starting to wonder how much of this mountain is some type of an advanced device that perhaps may be using organic holographic technology. We see orbs all around this place, okay? And it takes one of these orbs to get in our field of perception, our biofield, and it alters our perception. That's serious, but it can also be good. That's taking us into this quantum hologram thing and all that, because a lot of us, you just today, John, were saying you saw a couple of orbs before, that there were beings in there. And that's becoming a common report, people seeing beings inside of these orbs. I think that is the quantum hologram of consciousness they're talking about, and all of this is going to quantum physically. But anyway, I think what I'm seeing is some type of a system that is responding. I think it actually screens perhaps our soul life memories, all right, that far. Our soul are also our mind. And it knows, like, if you haven't encountered something, you haven't seen a cat being, a feline being, you haven't seen a Bigfoot, and all of a sudden your intent is out there, all of a sudden this system manufactures something that you have some type of contact, some type of phenomenon, all right? Although it may not be fully tangible, but it's enough to boost your consciousness. So in that way, I'm thinking that it's still a positive thing, but we've got also whoever is the caretaker of this device. We're talking about something that's generating organic technology and reading us in that way. This is something from a type 2, type 3 civilization, maybe, from way back. So I think we've also got caretakers here that are taking care of it, amongst the other things that I think this mountain in this area is doing it. That's just one. Real quick to wind that up, after talking to a lot of people that were here, a lot of people that were clairvoyant, a lot of people were seeing a grid, a type of grid. Especially I introduced the third pineal gland exercise that a lot of people were saying they were seeing a small grid. I'm wondering if that's not the field of energy that is reading us and reproducing this phenomenon. Okay. And it's obviously for the betterment, because everybody who came out of here this weekend was better for what they experienced. And it's been going on a long time. So maybe when I look at this Mount Adams and Mount Shasta, that seems to have a lot of the same effects from the people that have been there, I'm wondering if we're not seeing two of these machines that are working, they're just so far advanced. Sorry, that's all.
Nice.
Please don't apologize for dropping wisdom bombs. Well, first of all, what comes through is the matrix holographic morphogenic field, whatever you want to call it, the overlay, artificial light overlay over an organic holographic experience, if you can wrap your head around that. Why are we in a program inside of a program with a program going on? You know, it's a bit of a puzzle, but the thing is that the organic matrix and also the artificial construct are also becoming the vibrational equivalent of your state of being instantly. Sometimes there's an echo, you could say, but it's always becoming the vibrational equivalent of your energy that you're giving off. And there's a lot of other stuff going on. But in terms of the technology, all I can reference is I went to Bali to film there and to kind of live there almost for a month and a half. And all over the island, all of the people there, and a lot of the awakening scientists, you could say, all revere and honor the volcanoes as being circuit boards, as being like the energetic epicenters of dragon lines, ley lines, energetic lines. They're all like circuit boarded somewhat by the volcano, Kintamani and the other ones. So they all, even the religious, even the spiritual, even the scientists are all saying that there's something going on 100% with those volcanoes and all the energy lines. So that would probably corroborate a little bit what we're postulating on.
Sure.
There was a photograph taken a week ago or a few days ago by Jimmy Church, I believe it was.
Yes.
And it was very interesting because I wasn't sure this thing opened up on the mountain on top of Mount Adams, this sort of hole or gateway or doorway, or, you know, some people were describing it as like a hangar and the ships were about to fly out of there. I wasn't so sure about all that, but I did see, but I did see one photograph where this, basically up on this mountain, a huge area at the top that's probably quite vast, caved out and fell down the mountain. And we could see the trail that it made, and it looked like there was a doorway opening up. It was really extraordinary. But when we zoomed in on one of the photographs, it looked like there was this completely perfect rectangular structure within the mountain that this caving away had revealed. I don't know, but it was super intriguing to see this. I don't know if it was a camera aberration or whatever, but it seemed to be on the mountain. There was a perfect rectangular structure or some sort that had been revealed by that. So that was pretty awesome.
Well, you know what's really interesting about that too is I've seen multiple pictures of that, and we're calling it the doorway for lack of a better name, but a lot of people took pictures and they all got the same thing, many different angles, many different light levels, so forth. So that was interesting, but that keeps triggering me doing exactly the main theme of what we're talking about right now. It brings me back to these events that are occurring and how are they affecting us. And we were in a conversation earlier talking about how the events don't necessarily have to be this earth-shattering in your face event. It can be something very, very subtle. And maybe, like you said earlier, Barry, that is the point of it being so subtle as to raise our awareness and really, you know, bring us in. If we're really looking at the fine detail, we're really bringing it down to a much more of a quantum level, I believe. So these occurrences and these little, and we're calling them triggers or activations for whatever reason. But I've been triggered since you guys got here, and since we've sat down and had so many amazing conversations on so many different subjects, all of which were this journey, this beautiful journey. We'd start and one of us would bring up some type of a subject and bring up a few points about it, and then someone else would chime in with something that would bring the conversation over here, and then from there it would keep climbing and climbing and climbing, and pretty soon, before we realize it, without any intent whatsoever, the vibration we're holding, it was so high, and the content of the conversation was vast and profound, deep stuff. And it was absolutely phenomenal. We were having so much fun doing this, but at the same time, completely triggering and activating each other. So it was like one of the most amazing experiences I've had. I've had a lot of crazy, bizarre metaphysical experiences since I've been here. But one of the most profound is this triggering that we're doing, this snowball of consciousness that is roaring down the mountainside, and it's picking up. And as it rolls, just like a real snowball, it grows and picks up speed. So we amplify and accelerate, and we have these theories. Some of them are very, very far out there. However, what's really interesting is we're all having these we're all thinking the same thing. And it goes, I'm not going to say that. I don't want to bring this up because these guys are going to think I'm crazy. We're all really crazy guys to begin with. And we're here at ECETI, and we're kind of being a little apprehensive. Finally, one of us will say, well, fine, I'm just going to say it. And and then as soon as something like that comes flying out, another one would chime in. Oh yeah, well that pushes me to this and this and this, and I'm glad you said that because now I don't feel like I'm crazy. It's like the shapeshifter. What we're seeing here, and I'll just touch on that for a second. Is we're seeing beings expressing their physicality in many different ways. Where these beings may be showing up as a small animal, as an orb, as just a wave of energy, as a live, living, breathing, physical being. But they may be all the above and much more. And what it seems as though they're doing is we've tapped into this level of consciousness, a unified level of consciousness, to where we're all being affected. And it's not just the three of us. It's any of us that are at all awake and really working towards the truth and the light, the light being our knowledge and ascent. We're all feeling the same thing. We're all having profound experiences, being woken up in the middle of the night for one reason or another to experience your Sasquatch experiences, yours, mine, others. And those experiences alone, they springboard your whole, not only your belief structure and I think they just crush the belief structure. They just shatter it to such
even when they're subtle. This is what was coming out of you were talking about. Some of these subtle experiences, I'm not trying to make people nervous because it's actually really lovely, but some of the subtle experiences can totally shatter your original ideas, like real quick. And it feels beautiful to not be encumbered by that anymore.
Go ahead, Barry.
Honestly, it's just interesting because, we can talk about things like, suddenly there's having some type of Sasquatch activity, and the strange things I've been experiencing since the conference ended a couple of days ago. It didn't start till then, really, for me. I was wondering if it was going to be like that this time. But when I get done, later I'll show because I want to mess it up what's happening now. But to see that maybe one thing that's living communication for me to then show up as a squirrel that is acting in a way I've never seen. Communicating with me, coming so close in a way I've never seen. I know quite a bit about squirrels, and I'm thinking, my Lord, this has got to do with this communication that this Sasquatch is leaving me. And it was so subtle, but this squirrel was not. And I'm telling you, it's one thing to sit and talk about shapeshifter and shapeshifter ranch over that place. That's not even what this is. But really, what is it like to eyewitness, to experience one of these beings for real? Okay, I saw a squirrel doing something that I've never seen. A baby squirrel that was coming towards me, communicating with me like that, like saying some sort of it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I was very much aware that this was not what it appeared to be. And then it's gone, and it happens to go off the way that the Sasquatches are all over, that messing around over that way. They're having activity over there. It's no coincidence. So I'm saying, what is it like when we really encounter a being that can at least, whether it's through quantum holograms or whatever the case is, optical nerves, they can really shapeshift and appear as something different, and that consciousness is still there. I mean, I think that's definitely what I witnessed just like today, man. Are you kidding me? It's one thing to hear about that on TV. They do stuff that's weird, you know, the TV stuff. But what is it like in real life when they come into your field of awareness, your perception? I mean, I'm out here like, man, just kind of going, whoa. It's real subtle too. It was, but if I hadn't been at least capable of heightened awareness, it would have went right past me.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I see, like some of the conversations. Lorcan and I were taking a ride to the airport, and we started having this conversation. Mm-hmm. And it was about we hadn't spoken at the conference yet, so we were talking about different maybe approaches to our presentations, and we were talking about Michael Tellinger and how he had a way of taking very, very complicated issues and very, very complicated subjects and putting them into nuts and bolts terms, so that it's much easier for basically a larger array of the audience to really take hold of that and understand it. So, and that's precisely what happened with our conversation. We started with crayons on the paper. Next thing we know, we're typing at light speed. Now we're in this, voice recognition software, and it's just going on and on and on, and we're triggering each other back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I was like, whoa, this is, it's really amazing to be able to have conversations with, at that level. Then you show up, and it starts to grow even more. And we had a lot of really open, very incredible people here this weekend. And you talked about it too, about how, and as I think you also said it, some of the greatest conversations that went down during this whole conference were the ones around the fire pit. The one-on-one, the two-on-one thing like that. Those really small, intimate, but incredibly deep and incredibly powerful, very important conversations. And that it touches back to what is the source of that vibrational acceleration amplification, and is it a direct byproduct of where we are? We're at the vortex now, or is it the fact that the proximity of ourselves and the focus and intent of our thought, that's creating exponentially? I know that when anybody that I get into a really nice thoughtful higher thought type of conversation, it raises the vibration there alone. But so we've all really taken a lot of time and effort to really work on ourselves and to raise our own consciousness and vibrational signatures and hold that light. Now, do you think that, I personally think that it's a combination of our focused intent, unifying thought, and having the exponential growth occur that way, but it's also affected by the vortex. What do you guys want to say on those points?
Real quick, and I'll start over. Like I said before, I witnessed, man, everyone saw it. Even when doing that interview last night with Jimmy Church, excuse me, towards the end of it, he started describing his experiences out here. And, I didn't realize he was touched that much by it. You know what I mean? And it's like
he was
everybody,
changed.
Yeah. And everybody that was out here that focused into anything saw evidence of it. Whatever it is out here, whether we want to call it a Stargate, a device, it is amplifying intent. And you can see it. A whole group of people. It's not just one or us here talking. There's a whole group of 60, 70, 80 people.
100 some odd people, yeah.
Yeah, it was really amazing. And one of the meditations done by Costa, I think it should be mentioned, involved bringing the energy from the earth up through and passing it through the room and then projecting it psychically into the sky, asking for a type of communication. And I think that night they go with 34, 35 signings, and they were good ones, man.
Yeah, there were some really good low ships, big power-ups,
Yeah, I had to go the next night, and I was scared, man. I was like, well, nobody shows up. But it just shows how much it's responding to intent. And I think, brother, you said something last night, Lorcan, that was really amazing. You said you saw that Sasquatch, and you said it changed my consciousness. It altered my consciousness.
Shifted it, yeah.
Yeah, that's prime. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's what this thing is doing. Whatever it is, and whatever this area is, and I'm just curious how far outside of this mountain does it go? Does that field of energy, that magic, that zone go? That's all.
Perhaps it's infinite, you know. And probably that magic is in everything, really. It's just there's certain aspects of the self that haven't remembered that.
So do you think that being in the proximity of it, it's not like a light where you're closer, it's brighter when you're closer to it? You think it's more of an awareness of it?
Bali is coming in again for whatever reason. So Bali, for those who don't know, is an extremely potent vortex point in Indonesia. It's called the Island of the Gods. Like it's immense there, and the frequencies are so high that there's certain places you go, you can't escape any of your stuff. Like, you think it's rough here at the ranch, that it's there, and it was not rough, but the frequency is so high you can't hide anything. Like, all the barriers of space and time drop, and like all this stuff in your subconscious comes up. It's hardcore. My point is that I spoke to a very interesting being. I won't mention their name particularly right now, but I asked them about Bali and why is it that the vibration's so high there. And yes, there's a high vibration there, but the intention of so many people coming to Bali to have that experience is what has created it truly to be the vortex that it is. So we're, there's mountains out there, there's plastic, there's wood, there's all sorts of different things, but we're also imbuing that energy with our belief systems. We're imbuing that energy with how we see it, how open we are. So the more we believe or have a certainty that Mount Adams is this, portal technology, pyramid, what have you, the more that could probably open up to reveal that to be the truth. The more open you are that you've already had contact, that you want to have contact, it opens up those avenues. It's literally just about being open. That's what opens up everything, even being, this ranch as well, since I first arrived, we're all in different parallel realities and cycling through them, billions of times a second. And some of them are similar. All I know is that when I arrived, in my own particular reality, this ranch has gone like up here in terms of frequency. Now it's just off the charts. So when it gets up to that level, then you're really talking about contact. You're talking about physical contact, not just intangible, seemingly non-physical contact,
right?
But actual, literal, physical contact and communication. And that's just, it's done. Like, and interacting with a lot of these beings in the dark, I have to say, which has been going on for me, has been a beautiful metaphor for the great unknown.
Right.
The mystery, the darkness, the dark feminine, whatever you want to call it, that mystery that some people are afraid of because they don't realize that energetically they already are the unknown mystery. Right? But if you come across a being that you can't see, that's obviously huge and is making, kind of a deep primate voice at you at nighttime in the dark, that brings up a lot of stuff.
It does.
And I didn't realize how afraid I was of actually having physical contact or communication with a Bigfoot Sasquatch being. Right? You're like, oh, it's going to be cool.
Be careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah. It's so different. You're like, okay, yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, I know, I get it. Sasquatches are real. Aliens are real. Yeah, I get it. And then you see it, you're like.
Well, the other thing that I didn't consider at all. I always wanted to see them and had some close encounters, but never had a lot of visual contact. But what I completely unexpected was the amount of energy they generate and project towards you and into you. When I had an experience where I was out by myself, 10 o'clock at night, the wind was roaring, it was clouded over, and I found myself with 3 Sasquatch around me, close, projecting this energy towards me and lighting me right up. And there again, it was the fear, and I used telepathy to communicate with them. Can you help me work through my fear here? Because of all this programming through past lives, this life, of all these fear frequencies that I believe that become accustomed to, and almost have the habit of holding those frequencies. And to break those frequencies, to be aware that I am indeed holding them, and have the desire to break them. And then I walked a little farther, and then suddenly I had 5 of them surrounding me. Now, did I see them straight up with my physical eyes? I did not. But you could put a gun to my head, and I would tell you the same thing every single time. There were 5 Sasquatch around me, and no one can tell me otherwise. The energy, the difference of the energy being projected from the being, the way, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, because, and I think that's part of the intent. When we talk about these beings, we catch their attention. We catch, they see our intent to communicate with them. They see our the energies. And I think that we kind of join some consciousness in that aspect, which allows to open up for more telepathy. Now, you had quite a bit you had telepathy with Elder right out of the gate the last time you were here. It's been Delaki for you and I, but it's not just Delaki. There's Ida,
all manner of them.
The
whole gang
at this point now, right? And I think that the fact that you go back to that earlier point you made about us, setting our intent and going towards it. Now we had the question of, is it because we all want to see a Sasquatch that all of a sudden we start seeing Sasquatch, or is it a flip side of that coin to where we all want to see them so we manifest it energetically and it actually occurs?
Could it be both?
It could be both. So taking that point right there, now the experiences I've had, regardless if they're metaphysical or physical, they're real for me. And I've had these experiences and they have affected me in a profound way. Mm-hmm. Now, there are physical aspects to these experiences as well. And there are metaphysical aspects, because I believe that it's more of a quantum experience, as such. But the energies that, again, I experienced have changed me very much, like you have changed you and changed you, because of having these experiences, and whether they're perceived or, if they're perceived in the mind, or if they're actually a physical experience. To me, it almost doesn't matter, because they've affected me profoundly either way. Mm-hmm. And I know in my heart how I feel about this and how it's affected me. And it's really driven me to want to do this little piece to share this, because I don't see too many other people talking about the whole aspect of how we do indeed trigger ourselves, how these experiences, how we've had these individual experiences, but somehow they're intertwined. And within all our separate experiences is this one experience that we're all kind of sharing. You'll bring up a point about your experience that you've had in those small little subtleties, and they'll trigger something in me and vice versa, and we'll go around the circle. And it just creates this vortex of thought. And that vortex seems to, again, amplify and accelerate. And that seems to be the theme, I think the theme of the conference has kind of been amplify, accelerate consciousness. You guys agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. Like you said, the word kept coming up here, profound. That's exactly how it is. It's a profound experience that makes you go forward. And
it's like holy,
Mm-hmm. Yep. It raises your consciousness. And I think that's, no matter what, whether it's part of it is artificial intelligence, part of it is the beings themselves, it doesn't matter. Perhaps these classifications that we're so used to putting things into aren't relevant here. You know what I mean? Maybe it's the whole conglomeration. Because what I've seen out here it's been a trip. I mean, it's been more about responding to people's intent this time, You see it. And there's no other way around it. So that's the fundamental energetic system that's at work right here, out here. And it's got to be in the name of consciousness. Lord knows.
Yeah. Did you want to finish off?
In the name of consciousness, that resonates really beautifully for me. There's always something within me that's always said, like, in the name of I am, or in the name of consciousness. There's something beautiful about that. So thank you for saying that. I'll just end with a little talk about initiation. Because it's about the amplification and raising the frequency and punching through bandwidths and the ceiling being raised and everything, but also it's about an initiation. because some people have had a lot of non-physical contact, like a whole boatload, and a lot they don't remember, and a lot that's gone on in the dream times and the astral realms. Like, people don't realize this, but people on Earth have collectively had astral dream time versions of Earth that they've experienced where everybody has experienced mass contact, like ships all over the place, but in astral realms, because that warms us up to the physical happening. Because when the physical happens, as we're describing, it can be intense, profound, whatever you want to call it. It can be extremely intense on the physical system and on the nervous system and the heart and everything. So there has to be, on some level, incremental element, especially with a lot of people who are not really open. You know, some people think that aliens or whatever are just not real, and
Sure.
so if you think something's not real and you see it in front of you, you might not even be able. You probably won't be able to see it. There's probably a lot of
That's
people.
been documented. You know,
you're not going to be able to see it. Why don't you see it? Because you just don't want to see it. You're and that's fair enough. I get it. It's quite, it's a big leap in some senses, but the initiation process is really important. I would always recommend to people to start off on a non-physical level, and I think that's what's happening on the Earth, and it kind of warms you up, and eventually at a certain point, I hear that the contact window is something like 2028 to 2033 for like all-out contact.
Right.
So we've got a little bit of time. A lot of stuff's going to shift up and change, and I think in 15 years' time, the world is going to be so different that it's going to be very hard for people to comprehend. And in that time, we're going to have a lot of time to be initiated, to have contact and communication on non-physical levels and dream time levels, and then we might be thinking we're dreaming one day and open our eyes and we'll have a lovely friend looking us in the eye and go, "Hi, we're here." Right, you've been enough time, mate.
Well, this has been awesome, you guys. Just wanted to touch base on a couple of things, share some of these thoughts, feelings, expressions that we've been having. I'm very honored to have spoken at my very first conference with these two gentlemen. And once again, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. I love you guys.
Thanks, John. Peace, everybody.